WUSA 9 News at 6 starts with breaking new developments in the fight to bring home a wrongly deported Maryland man. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Lorenzo Hall.
And I'm Leslie Foster. A hearing in that case just wrapped up within the last hour, and it comes one day after a meeting at the White House between President Trump and President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador.
Yes, so both men say they have no plans to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States. That's despite a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court ordering the Trump administration to facilitate his return.
Our Matt Gregory was inside the courtroom for today's hearing. He joins us now live from Greenbelt with the new developments. So, Matt, it was a pretty tense court appearance, too.
Yeah, it was a very tense court appearance. It was really, though, the government, the Department of Justice, being questioned repeatedly by the Judge Paula Xinis in this case. And in the end, what the judge has ruled basically is that the government has to show their work. What have they done to attempt to facilitate his return, and what are they going to do? So basically, this was going to be a status hearing. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, this same judge ordered status hearings every few days on Kilmar Abrego Garcia's status in the El Salvadoran prison. What are the attempts being made to bring him back? And she told the government lawyers at the time, hey, you have to facilitate his return. So the crux of their argument today was around the term facilitate, which they argued does not necessarily apply to bringing him back, saying that would go within sort of outside the boundaries of the court to deal with foreign sovereign nations. The judge said that's not the case. That's not what she's asking for. She's saying facilitate is pretty well outlined, and that means they must return him. And she wanted to see what those attempts look like to return him. So basically, this is what's going to happen going forward. It's called an expedited discovery. Essentially, all the evidence that will be collected over the next 2 weeks and asked for in the form of interviews with DOJ officials and Department of Homeland Security officials, those will have to be recorded in depositions. There will be interrogatories, some questioning, and other evidence offered. And the judge will say, as she put it, she will play, quote, referee in terms of how that evidence is going to come out or what that will look like. But she said basically what she wants to see between now and the next 2 weeks is the government's work on what they're doing to bring him home, because in her mind, there is no sort of gray area on what facilitate means, and not at this point. And she says the Supreme Court has upheld her ruling here in the lower court. But afterwards, we spoke with the attorneys for the Abrego Garcia family, and they said this is a small one, but they feel like this was a big win in many ways.
We're not done yet, though. We need to keep applying pressure and keep pushing back against this narrative that the question of this case is about whether or not Kilmar is a quote-unquote terrorist. That's not what this question is about. That's not what this case is about. This case is about the government unlawfully and admitting to unlawfully removing a gentleman from this country, from Maryland, from his home, his family, his children, and taking no actions, no meaningful steps to fix that, as ordered by the Supreme Court in a unanimous decision.
Yeah, show your work. That was the order from the judge. She wants to know what the government is doing and what they plan to do, and they'll have to have that information in within the next few weeks. Of course, we're going to continue following this, and tonight on 11 o'clock, you'll hear from the family of Kilmar Abrego Garcia as they continue to fight to bring him home. But for now, in Prince George's County, I'm Matt Gregory. Back to you.
Yeah, a long journey that seems like it's going to extend even longer as this back and forth continues.
Over the language that's being used here in this order.
That's right.
Matt, thank you.